Hello and thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Cody Proctor. Each weekend we walk you through the headlines from the past week in the Inland Northwest. Let's get started with one of the biggest news stories of the past few days.
Well, officials with the Washington National Guard tell us that members of the 141st Air Refueling Wing out of Fairchild have been activated. Now, the U.S. Air Force website describes activation as temporarily expanding active military forces. The activation can be voluntary or involuntary and is often used to support overseas conflicts, training exercises, or domestic emergencies. The type of activation can also affect the benefits and support service members receive during deployment. Today, Brian Newberry, retired colonel and commander of the 92nd Air Refueling Wing, now CEO of Eastern Washington and North Idaho Girl Scouts, tells us what this could mean for impacted loved ones across the Inland Northwest.
We can support them, tell them we appreciate their service, reach out to spouses that might suddenly not expect to have their significant other be gone. I was deployed for a year overseas, and I was doing the best job I could, and I was equipped to do all that I needed to do. But sometimes when my cat got cancer, when this happened, when that happened, I really felt for my family because I was powerless to do much at home.
Brian also tells me it's important to help families during this time as activations can disrupt the family household, and he welcomes people to donate to the Fairchild Food Pantry. Now, KREM 2 News reached out to the Washington National Guard as well as the Department of War for more information about this activation. However, they said they could not provide further details. For now, I'm reporting in Spokane, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
When the Seahawks announced they'd go up for sale less than 2 weeks after their Super Bowl victory, eyes were drawn to the price tag. ESPN reports the organization's expected to sell at nearly $11 billion. But when Family Promise of Spokane, whose mission is to prevent families from experiencing homelessness, offered their own bid to purchase the team, they aimed a lot lower.
$43,542. That's a very precise number.
Joe Ader's the CEO of Family Promise. He says the idea of bidding on the team started as a joke, but became a reality once they worked out the number Ader says holds weight in the work and research they do.
That number, 43,542, amounts to $1 for every homeless school-age student there was in Washington State last year.
He says Family Promise receiving money from the team would help them greatly. The nonprofit operates roughly on $5.5 million for their annual budget. Ader estimates $13 million a year could end family homelessness across Spokane County, and $816 million would end homelessness for every child experiencing it statewide.
A 1% share of the Seattle Seahawks would more than double the budget that we have and would allow us to end homelessness for all families that are experiencing homelessness in Spokane County.
The letter of intent was submitted to the Seahawks ownership group and invites them to partner with Family Promise to help homeless families. With the announcement of who gets to purchase the team unknown as of Monday night, Ader says he's not expecting the team to take their tens of thousands of dollars offer seriously. However,
we do hope it opens up a broader conversation with the current ownership and future owners of the team on leveraging the resources and the reach of the Seattle Seahawks for community good.
Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
According to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, they responded Sunday just after 1 in the afternoon to the fairgrounds for reports of exploding backpack. This is what is left of the scene. When they arrived on scene, deputies found out 2 vendors reportedly got into a dispute on Saturday. Then the next day, the son of one of the vendors reportedly threw a backpack under the other's table. That's when officials say the backpack started burning. Someone picked it up and took the burning bag outside, where it continued to burn. A suspect's been identified as 21-year-old John Marsh of Mid Pines, California. He was detained and taken into custody. A Spokane County bomb squad and Kootenai County Fire and Rescue made sure the backpack was safe to deal with. Inside the bag, they found accelerants which did not ignite. David Peterson owns Prospector's Dream, and it was his table the backpack went under. He described his thoughts when it happened.
When it was on fire, oh my gosh, I was just like, we got to stop this guy, and I got to get this thing out of here. So, and that's where the doors were, so we both were heading in the same direction. He was leaving, and I was chasing after him. You know, I had to get the thing out of the building.
Peterson also says he did not have a dispute with the other vendor on Saturday. However, he admits they did have a dispute from 2 years ago.
I didn't talk with these people, didn't make contact with them. I walked around the fairgrounds and checked out everybody at the booth and walked by them, when I saw that they were there.
KREM 2 reached out to the Kootenai County Fairgrounds, who stated in part, quote, "The Kootenai County Fairgrounds was the rented venue for a privately promoted event. An incident involving a backpack that caught fire occurred during the event. There were no injuries and no damage to the building," end quote. Marsh now faces charges for first-degree arson, aggravated assault, and obstructing a peace officer. Marsh remains in the Kootenai County Jail as of a Monday afternoon. It's unclear at this time when he could appear in court. In Coeur d'Alene, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News. As we go to break, here's a check of your weekend forecast. Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. It's been a busy week across the Inland Northwest, and we want to help catch you up on some stories you might have missed.
Members of Spokane Community Theater are calling for accountability for Spokane Civic Theater, saying that a diverse group of people auditioned but are claiming racial bias influenced casting decisions. I talked to one auditionee who did not receive a role, B. Aaron, who has done shows for Spokane Civic Theater in the past. She says only one person of color was cast in Hunchback of Notre Dame, leaving other actors of color out of the production. Last week, the Spokane Civic Theater posted online the cast list for its upcoming production of Hunchback of Notre Dame, sparking several comments and concerns online. A day later, the theater shared a second post saying they are connecting with community members to listen and continue the dialogue. On Friday, the theater announced the production would be put on hold. In the letter online, it states the theater will move forward with guidance from an equity leadership consultant. B. Aaron says she has felt this racial bias before in other auditions and that she is concerned this situation has divided community theater members.
I saw a good amount of really well-qualified POC in the room that showed up. It really makes a lot of people of color in the community feel unsafe in a space like theater that is supposed to be the safest space to create arts.
Another auditionee I talked to, Dana Salmon, who also works part-time at the theater, told me she had a similar experience. She was not cast in the production and says she believes the situation is due to unconscious bias. Both B and Dana tell me they want to see meaningful steps taken toward accountability and repair for the community.
We want to make sure we are setting these boundaries in place for our younger, growing up artists. It's our job too, as the theater community, to make it welcoming for everyone.
Spokane Civic Theater's executive director did not want to go on camera today. However, they did send me a statement that says, quote, "With best efforts towards transparency and out of respect for the importance of topics at hand, we are taking this time to engage feedback from community members to determine real-time and sustainable next steps." The Spokane Civic Theater also announced they will be holding a community forum discussion about the current situation, and a former president of Spokane's NAACP will be hosting it. That is happening on March 21st. That's Saturday at noon. For now, I'm reporting in Spokane, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Saray Sonko is studying nursing at Edmonds College as part of the Running Start program. Running Start allows high school students to take free college classes. Many, like Saray, will earn a 2-year associate's degree by the time they graduate.
I want to start out as a nurse and maybe see later on if I want to go further into the medical field.
But now the program itself is in need of some first aid. State lawmakers are looking to close a budget gap, and Running Start is on the chopping block. $14 million in cuts under consideration include eliminating the summer semester and lowering the number of credits students can earn. That would stall momentum for many of the 36,000 students enrolled in the program and possibly result in students having to pay for an extra semester when they get to college.
If you go summer school, that means you are on a faster track to completion. That means you complete early, you get a job early, you can support your family earlier than otherwise. So it's just all around.
For Saray, the financial savings from Running Start is close to $30,000, something she fears her younger sister won't be able to take full advantage of.
It makes me sad though, because like my sister, she's a freshman right now. And like, I'm scared that she's not gonna be able to finish with her AA and it's gonna cost her more when she gets to university.
Investment return for our future, for students, is big for these things. So the return we get is much higher than the investment.
We're told there are additional discussions happening in Olympia as we speak that could save at least some of these classes. We should know more by the end of the weekend. We will keep you posted. In Edmonds, Eric Wilkinson, King 5 News.
Hello, I'm Cody Proctor. Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 News. You're watching the Week in Review, where we bring you some of the biggest news stories of the past week.
Inside Boeing's assembly lines, building an airplane is a massive puzzle. Millions of parts coming together one by one, and sometimes something small gets caught. Boeing says it discovered scratches on wiring on some new 737 MAX jets, caused by a machining error during production.
It definitely feels a lot more transparent than in years past.
The company says planes already flying are safe, but some aircraft need to be fixed before delivery.
When you put it together an airplane that has over 1 million parts, it's not going to be perfect. You just have to work to try to make it as perfect as possible. But these things do happen.
The issue was found during quality checks, and analysts say the fact Boeing is talking about it shows how the company is trying to change.
Boeing did catch it. It obviously brought it to the attention of the Federal Aviation Administration, and it was transparent with its customers. Overall, indicates a pretty good change in tactics on the part of Boeing, where in the past it would not try to let this stuff get out.
The discovery comes as Boeing reports its strongest February deliveries in nearly a decade. The company says it delivered 51 airplanes last month, including 43 of the 737 MAX.
And that's the cash cow of the company.
The jet is the backbone of Boeing's business. Experts say the MAX represents about 85% of Boeing's deliveries in any given year and is key to the company's recovery. Boeing also plans to expand its 737 production, starting a new assembly line in Everett this summer. And while questions remain, experts say the big picture may finally be shifting.
Boeing is finally on an upward trajectory.
Bridget Chavez, King 5 News.
Detained at the Northwest Ice Processing Center.
124 days? Who's counting?
Zahid Chaudhry laughs about it now. The Lacey U.S. Army veteran, originally from Pakistan, says he thought his service would prevent him from ending up in immigration detention.
Shocking, surprise, painful. That it's a sacred understanding between the country and its veterans.
Chaudhry has been in the U.S. for nearly 30 years as a green card holder. Last year, he was one interview and a ceremony away from becoming a U.S. citizen. In August, at that interview at the Homeland Security Field Office in Tukwila, ICE arrested him.
I'm qualified for expedited military naturalization 25 years ago. My kids are here, American citizens. My wife is American citizen. Her father was a U.S. Navy commander. How could this be happening to me?
ICE says they arrested Chaudhry because he lied to the U.S. government about his criminal history in Australia in the early 90s, which includes, quote, financial deception, possession of stolen goods, and falsifying passports. Chaudhry had moved from Pakistan to Australia in search of a better life, initially working as a taxi driver, and was accused of possessing a passenger's passport. Chaudhry's wife, Melissa, said Zahid didn't have a choice but to plead guilty.
And they wouldn't let him go that day until he signed away whatever they put against him. That's the coerced plea deal that DHS is now picking up.
A common misconception is that when somebody serves in the United States military that they get automatic U.S. citizenship afterwards, but that is not the case. Right now, there are 2 veterans currently detained here at the Northwest ICE Processing Center in Tacoma. A 2025 DHS memo says military service alone doesn't protect a person from getting arrested and deported, but it also says the nature of the crime should be considered by prioritizing removing veterans who have committed violent crimes. Chaudhry's alleged crimes are nonviolent.
We met so many more veterans who have not been released.
Eric Ard with About Face, a veteran support organization, says Chaudhry's case isn't rare. Congress estimates more than 40,000 current service members are not U.S. citizens. Of those, About Face says they know of 3 currently in ICE custody nationwide. The organization says there were more, but they have all been deported.
The waves of immigration throughout American history, they've all had outsized numbers of service, and I think they have a very complex history with loving a country that doesn't always love them back.
In December 2025, after nearly 18 weeks in detention, Chaudhry was freed. A federal judge ruled he had been wrongfully detained because his deportation order is under appeal. Chaudhry has been released back home to his wife and kids.
And she would ask me, Mama, have you got Baba home yet? And I'm like, no, sweetie, you'll be the first to know. And those weeks they felt endless.
Chaudhry says for him, it's no longer about his own path to naturalization. It's about whether his service counts when it matters most.
Why do you want to stay here after all of this?
It's not about that. It's about defending the U.S. Constitution. That if I don't stand up, the people who come after me, they will have no constitutional rights, whether they have served or not served.
Welcome back. Before we wrap up this edition of the KREM 2 News Week in Review, we want to remind you that you can get the latest newscasts and weather forecasts anytime on KREM 2 Plus. It is free to watch and download for Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Now here's one more story before we go.
Well, we're just a few days away from Selection Sunday, so we wanted to take the time to look into what it costs for March Madness fans and what those could look like in the coming weeks. Every March, college basketball fans pack arenas across the country, hoping to witness one shining moment. This year, both Gonzaga's men's and women's teams are heading to the 2026 NCAA tournament. Many folks will wonder how much it'll cost to attend and possibly travel for those games. The cheapest seats for early games can start at around $70, while tickets for later rounds like the Sweet 16 or Elite 8 can run into the hundreds, according to NCAA.com. Reliable sites for tickets include the NCAA's website as well as Ticketmaster. The NCAA cautions fans be mindful of some third-party websites that pose as a reliable source for tickets but end up scamming fans. Airfare, hotels, and food in cities hosting games often spike during the tournament. In 2025, many Spokane fans who traveled to Wichita for the tournament spent roughly $700 to $1,000 on airfare, according to Kayak.com. The source also says, including hotel costs and tickets, that trip cost about $1,500 per person. Well, for now, fans will be watching their brackets closely to see which teams make the tournament and will later decide whether they're willing to travel to see the action in person. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Keep it here on KREM 2 for more news throughout the weekend. I'm Cody Proctor. Thanks for watching.